Welcome to the Marketing Powers Podcast. I'm your host, Mkwemba Mangangu, and I'm joined by my co-host, Grace Gondwe.
We're both marketing enthusiasts with a passion for sharing our knowledge and insights with you. This podcast is designed to equip our listeners with the information they need to excel at marketing in their different spaces. Our aim is to bring marketing home.
With that said, let's delve into today's episode. Hi, Takia. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm okay. How are you doing?
I'm good. How's the week been?
It's been a long week. How's yours been?
Yeah, you look burnt out.
That's an understatement, actually. But we're good to go. We're surviving.
We're happy. We're happy to have you alive.
Yeah. How's been your week?
Week's been good. Can't complain.
Perfect. That's nice. Grace is not with us in studio today.
Grace apparently is still globetrotting.
Globetrotter. Our very own Globetrotter is not around.
Our very own Globetrotter is not around. So we'll wait for her to come back and see what insights we have about marketing from the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
And of course, we miss her presence here. And but either way,
yeah,
we forge ahead.
Exactly. Interesting conversation we have today. How would you rate your communication skills, your personal communication skills on a scale of 1 to 10?
Depends on who you're asking. Are you asking my wife? Are you asking people at work?
I'll ask her on the side, but I'm asking you to give yourself an honest rating.
I'll give myself 7.
For our listeners, that's a lie. That's a big lie. Like if you're a 7, then I'm a 9.
And you're a what?
I think I'm a downright 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I will not refute. You do know how to communicate. Let's get that
thank you very much. So today, ever wondered why certain brands and campaigns hit it off right at the mark and certain other campaigns just sort of fade away into the dark? I know.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
All those do. And today, we're going to find out why.
Exactly.
So we are thrilled to introduce our guest, a true expert in strategic brand communication with a wealth of experience in shaping narratives for growth and change, currently serving as a consultant and strategic advisor at Crazy Ginger. He masterfully combines innovative marketing techniques with digital strategies to achieve remarkable results. With a strong proficiency in marketing communications, research, and online marketing, our online guest has been instrumental in helping both startups and established enterprises realize their brand's full potential. He has worked with well-known brands such as Mossy Lager and the king of beers, Budweiser. In addition to his consulting work, he is a respected public speaker, brand consultant, and advertising professional. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Nandus du Plessis.
Thanks, guys. It's a great intro. Like, makes me sound amazingly smart. You've got a great copywriter there. It's good to be here. Thanks, guys, for having me.
We're happy. So happy to have you. I know we've been through ups and downs to have this conversation, and we're happy we're here now.
Yeah.
Ons and offs, not ups and downs. It's just the power on and off.
Touché. No pun intended.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So just for context, when you talk about on and offs rather than up and downs, we're referring to some of the challenges we've had with load shedding. But as they say, the show must go on.
The show must go on.
Yeah, and let's get straight into it.
Let's get straight into it. So we've got what we like to refer to as our 2 compulsory questions at the beginning, and then the ones that come at the end. And the first one we would like to know from you is, how do you define marketing?
So I find that a bit of a difficult question, but it's also something that I love answering, because I would love to change the name of marketing to manipulation, because I truly believe that marketing is the art of manipulation. And that's when it's great marketing, because marketing is the art of convincing someone that the choice that they made was their own without they believing that they were ever influenced. And I truly believe that if you do great brand marketing or marketing, you've impacted someone's decision. You did not make it for them, but they have realized that they want to make the choice of choosing your brand or your service. So true great marketing is the art of manipulation.
Wow. What a very different but lovely, very lovely definition. So, just before I touch into your definition, quick question: do you believe all marketers are liars?
I believe that all marketers are manipulators. So if you believe a manipulator is a liar, then a liar is a manipulator. If a manipulator is a liar, then a liar is a manipulator.
Nice.
It's up to you.
It's up to you. It depends on which side of the spectrum you lie. I like how you've put together the fact that you're saying you have to make the consumer believe that that's a choice that they have made. And without sort of strategically communicating, rather than just looking at the negative side of manipulation, I think we like to look at it in the positive light. When you're communicating to your customers, you not only understand them, but you sort of understand their every move and try and capitalize on that to make them think they were making the decision, but in actual fact, you helped them just make the decision and convince them that they've made the right one.
Yeah, and I think the negative connotation to manipulation has always been a bad thing. A great metaphor to think about in this sense is you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Yeah.
You can understand that a horse needs to drink. You understand for a horse to be able to run or to operate in life, it requires a sustenance, and that comes from water. And you can understand that making sure that there's water on the path of where the horse walks, there's going to be a potential that he'll drink the water. So that's what I mean by manipulation is you need to manipulate your journey of the consumer into such a space that they choose your brand and that they choose your product. And that's where it comes through, is making sure that you know where the water should be at what time for the horse to drink.
That's fantastic. And this comes back to what you were mentioning earlier, when we get into the space and where we have to actually talk about knowing your audience. Okay, so you need to know the path that the horse takes to get to the water. And then you're going to put the water in its path. And so even when we do talk about manipulation, there's still this aspect of how much do I know about my audience? So that's like even the research aspect comes in, which Nandus is himself a researcher. So he already has the information of, okay, this is my audience and this is where they're going to be. So if I do communicate this way, it's going to resonate with them.
And I think what is important to note as well is just understanding where the gap in the gate is, where the horse usually goes through, or, in the fence where the horse wants to go through, or just adding a new gate, making sure that the horse goes to where the water is and you don't necessarily own the water. It's understanding the contextual environment of where people are, making sure that environment is best for them to choose your product. And no one can make any decision for anyone else. You make your own choices in life. Even if you're playing Russian roulette, you still have the choice of getting shot or not getting shot. Yeah. Even though it's your only choice that you have, you still make that choice for yourself.
I see. So we're getting into the lines of how you do something, when you do something, where you do it, and all of that sort of contextualizes into the fact that you've brought the horse to the water, basically. Yeah. And there's that. So would you say in your definition, is there some little hope, like in as much as you've brought the horse to the water, what are you hoping for from the horse to actually drink the water? Is it the hope? Is it the luck? Is it the strategy? What are we looking at to close that gap between not just bringing the horse to the water, but actually making them take a sip of that water?
In light of the theme of this conversation of being effective communication, you don't have any hope,
Yeah.
Because by the time the horse gets to the water, you have made sure he's run enough to be thirsty, that it's the right time of day, that he's walked a long enough route so that you've manipulated his route, that there's no more gaps in the fence for him to get through. He only walks the right length of time, so that the time that he gets to the water, he wants to drink because it's what his body knows that it needs. And there's no hope. You've planned it.
Yeah.
You've put it all together. And at the end of the day, all you then need to hope for is how much is he going to drink?
Yes. Wow. So that speaks into the research part as well as the consumer behavior, understanding what the horse is going to do from, it could be past behavior or something that you've placed a particular research on. Very interesting stuff.
Very interesting. Look at the lecturer in you coming out. All right. Our second question.
Teaching me already.
Oh yeah. Our second question is, what inspired you to get into the field of marketing? Like, let's hear the story.
Do you really want to hear the story?
I really want to hear the story. We hope it's a podcast.
Yeah. No, it's very much podcast. Wait, no, podcast friendly means it can be anything, right?
No, truly.
Let's be it's family TV friendly.
Okay.
But no, like I got into marketing actually at the age of 19. Strangely enough, I went to university to study law, and I didn't make enough money. I didn't have enough money at university, but at the same time, my favorite rugby team made it to the Currie Cup final, which is the big rugby tournament here in South Africa. Yeah. And we were first years, and for the first time, we were allowed to go out of our residence. I mean, it's in a time when first years are denied a lot of privileges, and we were about 15 to 20 guys that went up to Pretoria for a rugby game, and it's a 2.5-hour drive away. And I decided, like, cool, I'm going to print some T-shirts. And we made some T-shirts of changing the logo of Red Bull to Dead Bull. Sorry for the guys from Red Bull. But we had these orange T-shirts and changed the logo from Red Bull to Dead Bull because it was the Blue Bulls versus the Cheetahs rugby team. And the image that I designed and created was a cheetah eating a dead bull. And basically the T-shirt was Dead Bull. It gives you mints rather than it gives you wings. And I had 20 of my friends drinking way too much brandy and beer for the first time after 9 months of not being allowed to drink. We are in a Land Cruiser. We were about 9 in a Land Cruiser. And we were outside Loftus Versfeld. And for the first time in 38 years, my rugby team won the actual Currie Cup. And as the winning kick was kicked, the camera was on me, being very pensive and hoping that the kick goes over. And I swore on TV because the kick didn't go over. Now, that was great. But the amazing thing about it was that the camera was on my shirt as that happened. And we won, and my friends were all loud, and they got onto TV all around. Got back to hostel on the Monday morning, and the local radio station tracked me down. And they said they loved the T-shirts. They want the T-shirts. Long story short, 2,500 T-shirts later, sold it all over the Free State. And that led the foundation for me to start my own marketing company. I developed, after that, 5,500 or sold 5,500 T-shirts of a whole range for the rugby club. And I basically never cooked again at varsity because I ran a company called Tripod Marketing, and it ran for 4 years. I sold it later on, but it was my entry into marketing. And I then got bored with law, and I decided, no, I'll rather start or go into marketing. And I stopped my honors and I became a beer salesman. And from there, I just got into marketing from that side. So that's my story. As I said, it's not that much family TV friendly, if I gave you all the naughty details, but at least podcast friendly.
No, it is. It's perfect. It's perfect. And the very fact that you sat down and decided, this is my club. We're going to do something to gain attention, and that's exactly what it did. I mean, I don't know if you saw this happening, having people track you down all the way to campus, but for you to get to that, having put in the effort to actually be deliberate about the message you were sending, I think it's amazing.
I was just scared the guys who were tracking me down was Red Bull. Like, I was worried that they're going to be very angry of me taking their shirts and making it orange, But it was a trend at the time where everybody was changing logos into something else. And it was great to do it in South Africa where freedom of speech is so big.
Yeah.
So it was a very fun experiment. And that led to me actually teaching myself Photoshop and finding out how to actually use the art of graphics into marketing. So it's a great thing if you can teach yourself, and you would just want to spend some time with your friends drinking. You can do a lot.
Who would have thought, huh?
Yeah, truly.
Interesting story, and I can already see from even your inception of your journey here, that you must be now an expert at content marketing, because that was free content, and well done, and congratulations to your rugby team at the time as well.
Thank you, man.
Yeah. So I'll get right into it with effective communication. And in your experience, what are some of the key elements of effective communication in marketing?
I think we're living in a time where communication is such a broad thing. And what effective communication is, quite simply in its infancy, is achieving what you set out to do. And I think what is lost in marketing is, one, a lot of marketers are not marketers, they're project managers.
Mm-hmm.
They don't understand the art of marketing and the art of manipulation, is what I mentioned earlier, because a marketing manager in general, when they just do communication, they don't do effective communication, is when they are shifting messages across and around, and they're just making sure that the deadline is met.
Yeah.
And they don't make sure that the deadline is met with the right message to change behavior.
Yeah.
So effective communication today is communication that can move you from to. And if you ask any marketing manager, brand manager, any guy ever, where do you want to go from to?
Mm-hmm.
I can almost promise you 80% of the guys that you ask that question won't be able to answer it.
Yeah.
And it's because they don't understand what it takes to get from one place to another. And effective communication is literally the movement from one to another.
Yeah.
That's great. I like the way you've summed it up, because going even into our second question, I'm going to bring something up after you mention it. So it's how then do we define the success when it comes to communication strategies?
I find that always so difficult, because in the old school way of marketing, success was defined with how many times people saw your brand, and from a media point of view. And now we, in this time of performance marketing, from clicks and so many KPIs that we can have. Now, successful communication is based on what did you want to achieve? Where did you want to move people from to? It's the same thing. A successful communication, you have to have a starting point to an end point. If you think about success in life, is where did you begin? Where are you now? Is it where you want to be? If you don't want to be, if you think about a race, there's a beginning and an end. If you are running the Comrades Marathon or a ultra marathon in that sense, is where do you see yourself within the context of what you want to achieve? And success is only measured against your targets. And without having any clear targets, you will never achieve any success. So one should always go and look at what it is that you want to achieve. If you want to move someone from one point to another, what does it take? How do I measure it? Is it tangible? If it's not tangible and you can't measure it, you can't find success. So without any measurable and tangible KPIs, you can never have success.
Yeah.
So therefore, a lot of marketing campaigns, and I would almost say 95% of all marketing campaigns, is unsuccessful, even though it's deemed successful if you cannot define what it is you want to achieve.
I see. So just going back to what you said, what I'm learning is effective communication is not just about ticking a box. It's not just about meeting deadlines or getting it across that, we've communicated A, B, C, and D, but it's how you communicate. And from that, you said the number one starting point is you need to have objectives. You need to have a goal. You need to have objectives. Are you able to
I want to take that a little bit further.
Yes.
It's not just objective, it's tangible, measurable, movable. Meaning in the sense of that, I can have an objective to, I want the whole of Zambia to know about my brand. What do they know about your brand now? How much of Zambia knows about your brand? If 10% of Zambia knows about your brand, is it 10% of the total population? Is it 10% of the adult population? Is it the 10% of the youth population? What is it that you want to achieve? How are you measuring it? Can you measure it afterwards? If you can't measure it, it's not a good goal. And that's how you can define effectiveness. Effectiveness can only be achieved if you know what it means to be effective, if that makes sense in any way.
Yes, that makes
It makes
it
perfect
makes
sense.
perfect sense.
Which made me actually think of something I was listening to earlier. With when it comes to effective communication, they say emotion, information, and action. Okay, or in other words, what do you know based off the information provided? How does it make you feel? And then what action was taken? Because when we go back to it should have a goal, right? Are you sending out messages about COVID-19 to ensure that people wear masks? Are you just letting them know, like, what is your end goal? And I think, like you said, we should have things that are measurable. So when someone walks on the street in reference to COVID-19, how many people are wearing masks based off the information that was given? Was the communication effectively handled?
And I think going back to your point where you raised content marketing, if you think about content marketing and marketing in its own right, there's only three things that content marketing can do. One, it can entertain you, meaning it can make a emotional response, either negative, positive, or a happy, sad, whatever the emotion is, there's an entertainment element to it. Content marketing can do that. The second thing it can do, it can better your life through information. Meaning if you're at a festival, the content that you create is where do you find the food? Where do you find the drinks? That content gives you information and it drives change into the direction that you want to take. The third one that you have, it gives you a discount. It gives you actual value, literally a promotional point of view. If you think about content marketing in that essence of, firstly, it either entertains you negatively, it changes the emotion, either positively, negatively, or secondly, what information does it bring to you? What is the educational value? How does it drive change? Or thirdly, how does it... sorry, I've got some dogs that just decided to bark.
Oh, no problem.
And then on the third level is, what is the actual discount that it delivers to you? And I think if you then look at that in that light, what is it that it builds someone's brand? People will only associate with content in those three levels if it builds their own personal brand. Apologies for those dogs that just decided to jump in here. If it's not an on-off challenge, it is dogs that come around.
No problem. From one dog lover to another, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. So you've given me a good example of a festival, for example, and content creation and content marketing. So when you're dealing with different audiences, so even in the context of a concert, how do you tailor make some of the communication or the communication strategy to appeal to different audiences?
So I think what is really important is, I have this new view on life is, we have spent quite a long time developing media or content for channels, right? So you will have a digital channel strategy, or you'll have a traditional media channel strategy where you create content for each one of the channels. Now, when you start tailor making, you need to understand what content type, media type, your consumers or your target segmentation wants to absorb in their lives, want to be exposed to. So if we think about content for a festival, what is the content that people want? They want something that won't take away their battery power. It needs to be very quickly delivered. So a channel like X or Twitter, if you will, is a great channel to help enhance there, or even geolocation SMSs that comes through is a great channel of great content that comes through. It's tailor-made at the festival. So it comes back down to understanding your consumer, understanding the psychographic way of how they absorb, how you can grab their attention, and then what channel is best for them. And what I believe in is we've moved above the channel strategy and we've moved into media type. Is it a video? Is it a text message? Or is it a still image? What is it that we are having to create to grab the attention in that moment, to add the value, to change the behavior from to what we want?
Yeah. And with moving from channel to media, how do you determine what would be the right mix, for example, of your selection, of your channel selection?
I think channel selection is literally looking at your media time spent, right? I have fallen in the trap of spending too much time on TikTok now.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys fall into that.
Guilty.
And what is it that you realize how short your attention span is, right?
Yeah.
And you realize that if it doesn't grab your attention within 1 second, you're gone.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So the attention to detail of understanding where your consumer find themselves and changing from an interrupt strategy to interception strategy. That's one of the most effective ways to create content, because you don't want to interrupt what they're already doing. There's that famous line of saying, life happens when you're making other plans.
Yeah.
And that is exactly how marketing should come across. The great marketing is when you're intercepting the behavior of someone and you're adding value to their life in effort to have them do what you want them to do, right? And that's exactly what I would like to have myself think about when I'm thinking about what content, one channel, where to go. But you always go at a marketing mix, and then you go individual channel itself. Because as a marketing mix, you look at where do people spend most of their time?
Yeah.
Within that channel, how do they spend their time? What will make them angry if you interrupt them?
Yes.
What will make them watch when you intercept them? And what is the action that you want them to take after seeing the actual content that you expose them to? And once you have that in mind, only then you can start looking at how many times should I expose them to it in that channel.
Oh, wow. That's a mouthful.
Sorry, I did warn you. I've got verbal diarrhea. It just comes out, so you must just excuse me.
No, we love it, and because everything you've said is so insightful, and not just where most people just leave it to like we've talked about, the attention span is very small. So what do you do to change it? Where someone else would just be like, just change the graphics and move on. But then you go and really talking to how do I intercept someone and what is the best time to do that? All those things that go back to, I think, something Tukia mentioned when we talked about consumer behavior, understanding their mindset and how they think about various issues.
Yeah, and just
I think a great example, is from my past, is like, I can't tell you how many times people stress their asses off just of the Facebook post needs to get out, the Twitter post needs to get out, the Instagram reel needs to get out. We need to get it out. We need to get it out. But have you ever thought that no one has ever gone, oh, Nike didn't post today. I wonder what is wrong. What has happened? I didn't get my Nike post today.
Yeah.
Like, no one cares. If you don't add value to someone's life with the marketing content that you create, either through entertainment or through giving them knowledge or making sure that they have a discounted deal, they don't care because you're not building their brand. As long as you build their brand and you co-create with them, they will listen to you and they will wait for you. And then you've got a lot of a bigger impact when people want to see your content versus when they are scrolling past your content.
Yeah.
That's so interesting because you've just made me realize something else. You know how you've mentioned, no one is asking, did Nike post today, right? While at the same time, we've got the other spectrum that talks about if you're going to post, you need to be consistent, right? And now there's the aspect of how, in your definition of consistency, do you only do it when you have high quality content that actually resonates with your audience and builds that sense of community? Because like you said, unless you're doing something that creates value and say, for instance, the podcast, right? We would like to believe we create value. And so we have certain people that wait every fortnight and say, is this out? And can I get this information? Whereas we just come here every day to record for the sake of recording and say, we're just going to post something every 3 days, which to some point now might end up losing your audience because then like, okay, that's not the value I was getting because it's like these people, like you said earlier, are just ticking a box.
Yeah.
I think what is important to note is, as a personal brand, we easily forget that as people, we are very conscious about when we post, how we brand ourselves. But we don't bring that back into marketing. We don't bring that back into a brand. If you think about yourself, you don't post if you're going to put yourself in bad light. You don't post online if you don't have something to say.
That's true.
And I think the important thing is you only post when you have something to say.
Yes.
And I think one of the problems within the online world is so cheap to create content. And therefore, we easily create bad content. Back in the day when TV ads was your only way of communicating, you had a whole process up until CEOs and CMOs that had to approve before you get that content out. And it's because it was important to create content that has something to add and does something that needs to happen for the brand.
Yeah.
So I honestly believe that you only post when you have something to say. The quality of the content doesn't matter. It matters what you have to say. So consistency has gone from brand look and feel to having something consistently to say. And that's what your podcast is doing. You're consistently having something to say that adds value from a marketing education point of view. And that's why people are looking for it every 2 weeks, is because they know that they can learn something from it. The moment that you feel like you have nothing in the podcast that will teach people something, you'll skip a week.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And with the increase in channels of communication, like you've said, it adds, in as much as content is increasing, we should also bear in mind that bad content is also increasing. So the quality of the content out there is mixed. It's 50-50. There's not just good content out there because anyone has access to internet and anyone can post anything. So there's so much clutter. So now that creates a thin line. Even when you're putting your campaign on your advertising out there, it creates a thin line between attention grabbing and just irritating. There are some posts, like you're saying, when you could be scrolling through your X, you could be scrolling through your TikTok. Where do you draw the line between something that is attention grabbing and something that is just clearly irritating?
I think it's important to go back to the point of interception. And you need to understand that in the old school way of TV advertising, people don't go and sit in front of a television to watch commercials. Yeah. Right? You interrupt them every 15 minutes in an hour-long program. You consciously know that they know they're going to be interrupted at a 15-minute interval, at the half mark, quarter to, and then at the end, on top of the hour, bottom of the hour. You know that you're being interrupted. People have just accepted it. It doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. It doesn't mean that the ads that come and play on TV is actually good quality. They just interruptive style ads. So the difference that you need to think about is that interception style ads. And at the end of the day, you need to reach your consumer 7 times. If you don't reach them 7 times, there's no chance that they're going to change their behavior. So you don't change the message. You change the way that you deliver it. And you make sure that that same message is delivered at least 7 times. And if that message is not something that people want to see at least 7 times, then you've got a problem.
Oh, that's so true. Because, the fact that you just mentioned the ad in a 60-minute program, and there's the aspect of where you wait for the ad to come so you can actually dash out to go do something else and come just as
programming.
it is.
I absolutely love actual TV programming because it's scheduled my life. In a sense of it allows me to know, okay, I can go to the bathroom now, or I can go there, even though you can stop it. It's a nice little interval in your life, but these days I can't stop binge watching. Because there's no interruption that tells me go to the bathroom now.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna have some bladder problems one day if I binge too much.
All right. My next question for you is, what do you think are the common challenges you face in marketing communications, and just how do we overcome them? I mean, in light of everything we've talked about and how the attention span is also very thin. I mean, to have someone tell you that you only have 3 seconds to get someone's attention, which I think you even said 1 second, which is like, for most people, that's enough time to make up their mind and say, nope, next.
So I'll give you an interesting stat. Whilst I was at AB InBev in New York, we did a little study, and at that time we spent $102 million a year just on Facebook advertising. Now that is globally, and it's not even looking into the other marketing spend, right? So that's a lot of money. And we looked at, okay, do people actually notice our ads? We have 500 brands around the world. How much of this is being seen? we did a visual analytics, just looking at it and seeing where does our brand come into play? What is the average time that people look at our ads?
Mm-hmm.
And shockingly, 97% of all the ads that we had in play around the world, and that's 5,000 Facebook ads a year at that time, 97% of them had the brand in the 7th second, but also of that 97 was only watched 2 seconds.
Wow.
Meaning that people spent time with the brands that we spent $100 million behind on a media budget.
Yeah.
97% of them was ineffective because it didn't get to the brand logo even, because the brand logo was in second 7 on average.
Wow.
And people watch on average 2 seconds. Now, that is shocking.
That's crazy.
I can promise you
insane.
That it's wasted. It's $97 million that we found that we wasted.
Oh, wow.
Like, instantaneously you go like your heart sinking to your shoes. Now, we did find a way of how to improve it. We developed an AI tool that pre-tested, and all of our brands then got to 99.8% of bringing their brand into 2.5 seconds. So we literally tested every piece of creative before it went onto any social platform, making sure that there's a brand either from a logo or from a icon or anything that can associate it with a brand within the first 3 seconds. And you know what was the great thing about adding that little box around it? Yeah. It made people more creative. We came up with split screen advertising. We came up with the ad before the ad.
Yeah.
You know, like how you go to the movies and there's usually like the trailer that gives you an idea what the movie is about.
Yes.
We developed a whole play of the trailer before the trailer, of where we summed up the advert within 3 seconds before the rest of the ad came. And the interesting thing here is once you have the data and you understand how people watch your content, you can optimize it and making it something more effective. And then you can create something that intercepts their lives and is something that they want to watch, because you are selling a product that they love in most cases and that they want to know more about. But if you irritate them, they're going to scroll away.
Oh, wow. Interesting. I have a quick question. It's actually something that's bothering me. When it comes to when it came to the ad, what was the reason for placement of the logo only in the 7th second of the video? Was that something that was overlooked, or was that something that was deliberate?
It's going to get me in trouble if I tell you the truth, but I will tell you.
Please go ahead.
It's the egos of creative directors.
Okay. Yeah.
And the essence of what I mean by that is because they wanted to have a long build up. They wanted a story arc. They wanted a narrative. They wanted to tell a storyline. And their egos tell the story. It wasn't for what is being effective within the online marketing space, of where people wanted to not spend so much time, and they're not going to, because they choose. People choose whether they want to watch you or not.
Yeah. Yes.
And at the end of the day, it was a very harsh pill to swallow for creative directors that they couldn't have their long narrative arc in play.
Yeah, and I can imagine you sit down probably in a focus group or focus team, and you plan out this ad, and you say this one is going to hit the mark, and you're excited. There's so much build up, and you roll out the ad, and
all you're doing is wasting money.
All you're doing is wasting money. But do
you know how much fun it is to go back to creative directors and just tell them, "Hey, man, you put it in the 7th second. No one saw it."
You're like, I gotcha.
It's like, okay, and then they go, but no, just do it the way I told you to. You know, that's where it becomes fun, because data is very, very powerful.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. And I feel like this just like acts into our next question. And considering that you actually started answering it in the previous one when you talked about AI, which was to share an example of a campaign that faced communication challenge and how you resolved it.
I think a communication challenge, one can look at it a lot of different things. But one of my favorite campaigns that I can share with you that we did that had a communication challenge was actually, strangely enough, Kanye West in South Africa in 2011. Yeah, 2011. I'm not even sure if most people remembering that Kanye West came to South Africa in 2011 for a Castle Light concert.
Okay.
And the communication problem that we had is we had 10,000 tickets to sell, at 1,500 Rand a ticket, and we were the only sponsor, so we had no sponsors. We can't lower the price, otherwise we couldn't buy it. And the challenge that we had is, how do you make people want to go to a concert that is that expensive, dress only in white, because that was the dress code, because we wanted the brand to come across as extra cold. We wanted everybody to be in white and being able to bring that to life. And the issue that we had is we had too many tickets. We needed to make the brand premium. And the way that you make a brand premium, we realized, is you make artificial sellouts of tickets.
Mm-hmm.
And what we started doing is we started creating these old sold out campaigns. And what we did is, we didn't lie. We just basically created periods in time that you can buy tickets, and there was only a certain amount of tickets available in that period at a certain price or a certain person. And the artificial sellouts was all sold out in Golden Circle. Now you're like, oh shit, is there any other tickets available? I have to get there. It's selling out so fast. And that allowed us to keep up the premiumness of the brand and bringing in 10,000 people, where the year prior, we only had 4,000 people for a Drake concert in a venue that can take 10,000 people, and it was very much premium. So what we had to figure out is, how do you keep premium messaging in place for a brand that was at that time struggling to be premium? And one of the reasons why we brought one of the best rappers into the country was because we wanted the premium credentials that we can borrow from him. So if we ever said that we had 10,000 tickets available, people would go, it's a cheap brand.
Yeah.
But because every week we sold out on a different level, people thought, oh shit, this brand is very expensive. This is a high-end brand. And because we had a dress code that we brought in that was associated at that time with very high-end expensive parties, I wouldn't say the person that came up with it, because he's not as in a good light anymore.
Yeah.
So you can see that once you have the problem very well defined, it's very easy to come up with a solution.
Yeah.
It's just making sure that your problem is well defined.
Yeah, interesting. I think my response to that is master manipulation.
Are you joking? My dream title is to be a chief manipulation officer. CMO.
It's still the title of CMO at the end of the day.
I want to be a CMO, chief manipulation officer, man. I'm going to be it.
So you basically manipulated people into believing tickets had been sold out for you to get a reaction out of them to say, you know what, I need to get out of my couch and I need to go and buy a ticket.
It was even better.
Yeah.
The only way you can get a ticket right at the end of our phasing was, there's a code on the can, you have to enter the campaign, and the only way you can get is buy more beer.
Oh, wow.
And the more beer people bought, the more that they entered, the higher price. The last sellout was 2,000 tickets that was only available on pack.
Wow.
You could only buy a beer, SMS it in, and then win tickets. That was the only way, the last 2,000 tickets.
Yeah.
It was through the product, and the product was your last key and unlocking your extraordinary enjoyment.
I see. No, that was creative. I'm sure the sales department was very appreciative of that initiative. The fact that
34% growth.
34% in the campaign.
Yeah, and it was already going for the year. We already had a 16% growth, I think. I can't even remember. It was double-digit growth already for the year, and in the campaign, we had another 34% on annual growth.
That's
Awesome.
insane.
Yeah.
That's insane. Like, I would have loved to be in the room when that was happening.
Yeah, that's creative. I was also just thinking, I thought Kanye West would be self-selling. Like, Kanye West tickets would be self-selling.
But alas.
That's 2011. That's almost peak Kanye.
It was peak Kanye. It was just coming back after he had a hiatus and he brought out a new album. It was Kanye with a mask. Remember? So that's when Kanye came out with a mask. So we were paying a lot of money to bring him in the country, and he performed with a mask.
Oh, wow.
You must imagine how stressed we were.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Paying for his likeness, and then we can't get it.
Yeah.
Hectic.
Very hectic. So when you come up with these campaigns, you mentioned that all of this has to be tangible, it has to be objective, and you have to be able to measure it. Without that element of measurement and analysis, you can do away with that goal or objective. So how do you measure effectiveness of some of your communication strategies and campaigns, and what are the key KPIs that you look at when you're measuring effectiveness of a campaign?
So I think it's very important to distinguish between KPIs and diagnostics. I think it's very, very important to make sure that you always have clear, measurable KPIs, and then you have diagnostic KPIs that allows you to measure whether you're doing well or not. And I think that is a fundamental learning that I've had out of my career. That if you only have KPIs straight up, what happens is you cannot change the campaign as you go.
Yes.
What happens is, like most of those, if you're an FMCG style campaigns, you can only truly measure when the sales come back in.
Yes.
And that takes a long time.
Yeah.
You have an 8-week campaign, you have a spillover from how well that will do. But at the same time, you've got communications objective. You want to move the noting of your brand from a 2% to a 4%. How are you going to measure it? Only if you have a diagnostic KPI, like a social listening in time of, do you have more talking about your brand that comes in play? And I truly believe that the very specific measurement of performance marketing and traditional brand marketing is at a play of becoming very, very difficult, because performance marketing is becoming the directive for marketing, and that it goes against the communication objectives, because performance marketing is literally clicks and how are we doing the sales right now? But in the old school way of looking at brand marketing, it takes time to change people's perception.
Yes.
And that importance of perception change, you don't see in short-term marketing KPIs. You only see it in long-term. So the view that I have on KPIs is threefold. Firstly, you have to have a short-term KPI that you can measure in campaign if you're doing a campaign. Secondly, you have to have an annual long-term KPI that your campaign is contributing to. So as to the example that I gave previously where it was premium. If you are launching any campaign that is not pushing your premium attributes, it's not the right campaign for you in the long term, even though it might serve you in the short term. And then you have to have your third level of diagnostic KPIs in place that allows you to move around and change your tactics. Because a campaign is only a set of tactics put together that delivers in a short term and a long term.
No, that's fantastic. And I think the people that should actually be listening to this conversation even more are the people in the finance department. Because, I mean, they're always giving us unnecessary problems because of this. How are we measuring how much money, and how do we justify how much money we're spending when, in essence, like we talk a lot about how marketing has sometimes a carryover effect, right? Sometimes it doesn't happen there and then. It will click. We don't know when in the mind of the consumer, and they decide, oh, let me take action now.
But I think you touch on an interesting point there, is talking about effective communication. I think the marketing department has only got themselves to blame of not owning themselves as much as what a finance department owns themselves.
Yes.
In the sense of, who said we can't go back to a finance department and say you're wrong? You know, who said you cannot go back and prove a true ROI with true data and going back to the land of the debit and the credit and say, no, this has to change. And it's because we don't have that confidence, because we don't have a debit and a credit in place, that it's so hard for us to go and stand up. And because if you go to university and you being a lecturer, you would know that there's looked down upon the marketing graduates because the finance guys are the smart guys from school. But at the end of the day, the marketing guys knows more. And if it wasn't for marketing, finance wouldn't have a budget to play with.
Exactly. Thank you.
And I think for finance, it's like you said, it's more of black and white, like debit and credit. But from a marketing point of view, there's black, white with a little gray. So you can still confidently justify some of the decisions that you've made and some of the results that you're yielding from several campaigns. I think it just goes to show, I think you'd say the marketers understand not only marketing, obviously, but also the finance aspect of dealing with a campaign, whereas people in finance may not be willing even to understand what marketers are doing in the marketing department and why they'll demand for certain things.
Exactly.
And I think a very important point to come back, what I mentioned earlier, is that if you have marketers that are project managers, the finance team is always going to win. If you have marketers that are manipulators in the tone of what we're talking about now, then you're going to showcase showcase that you add value, because then you can showcase your lifetime consumer value. And that is something, a metric, something that I can add into, that is very rarely measured in traditional marketing. But once you start doing performance marketing and CRM campaigns, it's a lot easier to measure your lifetime value of a consumer. Once you're able to bring that to life for a finance guy, you're going to have so much budget you don't know what to do.
Yeah. Interesting. Amongst the three talking points that you've brought, I like the concept of the diagnostic KPI, because it also speaks into how, as a marketer, you need to be adaptable. If something is not working, you need to know how to provide a solution and make sure it works, or tweak it here and there. From your experience, how do amendments to KPIs usually go in from a creative setting? Like, how would you change some of your KPIs, and how do you measure certain things?
I think how I found is, I learned the hard way that, especially if you go up the chain and people want to measure your campaign and you want to prove that you've done well, it's really hard to be very direct, because people don't understand the marketing space. Creatives have certain goals. Your brand manager's got certain goals. The business got certain goals. But the easiest thing is to break it down to questions. When you do KPIs, when you do measurement, you should always go and ask yourself, what is it that I'm trying to do? What is the questions I'm trying to answer? And I've all lived my life in the marketing space with regards to measurement to these simple questions. How's my brand doing? What is driving that? How's my brand doing? Is that good? How's my brand doing against my competitor? Is that good? And then what is driving that performance? And within that context, is my brand doing good? What is driving that performance? And how's it doing against my competitor or against anything else? Just answering those three little questions, you can very easily decide what KPIs you need to look at. Because if you're asking me, how's my brand doing? And I'm asking, what does good look like? And you tell me, oh, it's sales. Then I can say, okay, great. Let's go look at how much sales I've moved. But if you're asking me how my brand is doing, and I'm asking what does good look like, and you tell me from a perception point of view or a long term, I can tell you these attributes are being moved or not moved, and I can do a traditional research study. So it's very, very important to be on the same page when you're trying to answer these questions of, what does good look like? How's my brand doing? How's it doing against my competitor? And what is driving that performance?
Yeah, no, that's good. And I feel like once you do have those unlocked, it does take you far away. And like you said, when you take you back to the finance department, that is where you get your confidence from, because now you have a basis for your argument and where you gain your confidence from in the conversations we have. Yes, so you have done so many campaigns and dealt with so many big brands. And now I would like to know, what is the most rewarding project or campaign you've worked on, and why?
That's a very difficult question, because I've done so many things, but I think I'm glad you said project, because there's a project that was really close to my heart, and it was the ability to help people understand how to create content online that is effective and that is actually building brands and it's not breaking down. And I had the great opportunity of designing a content communication strategy workshop that was a 2-day workshop that I implemented and personally flew to 28 different countries around the world, from Honduras to Lagos to actually in Zambia. I implemented it in Lusaka. I went to Tanzania. I went to Hong Kong. I went to Canada, all over the place, and implementing the art of strategic communication by creating a simple one-page strategy. And 770 people, agencies, and brands went through this project, and it was the most rewarding thing ever to help people self-realize the importance of strategic communication, and not me telling them what to do, just helping them understand how effective they can be if they truly co-create with their consumers.
Oh, that's massive. You see why we need you back for another episode. the amount of reach, and like even when you say it, I can hear the emotion and just how much attachment you have to the project that you had, and that's amazing stuff.
Yeah, sounds very, very fulfilling. And in giving back, what is some of the great advice that you'd give to aspiring marketers and communication professionals throughout everything that you've been through? What's some of the advice that you'd give?
I read a friend of mine's update on LinkedIn the other day, and it was, she's at bigger NetBank, and it was so simple. Marketing has to be fun. Like literally, marketing has to be fun. Corporate environment is so stressful. It is so bad. Like there's so much stress, and the marketing department is the cool guys that wear the jeans to work with the sneakers, and like and just can bullshit, and. Within that context, I truly and utterly believe that you have to have fun when you're a marketer. You have to challenge it. You have to fail forward. You have to try and make the best campaign in everything you do. Yeah. And I have always believed that if it doesn't feel like it's going to end, that's how great it is. It's not worth doing. If you don't feel you're part of something, don't do it. Yeah. Do something great until you stop aching the feeling of wanting to be part of something. And I have truly been blessed of being part of magnificent movements around the world in multiple different places. But truly, the biggest movement was just trying to understand the art of building a brand for people and making their lives better. And everything that you ever do as a brand should make people's lives better when you take their money at the same time.
It has to speak into the bottom line at the end of the day. That's very nice to hear, and kudos to you and everything that you've achieved thus far. How would you?
Thank you, man.
Yeah, you're most welcome. How would you sort of, or rather, what perspective would you bring to light working in the South African context, bringing it even down here to Zambia, Lusaka, as well as from a global perspective? What are some of the tips that you've learned, and what advice can you give to someone who would probably start out as a local brand and try and build something internationally?
My dream when I started Crazy Ginger was to build an African-born global brand.
Yeah.
Right? That was my absolute goal. It's been very hard. And the reason for that is exactly what my advice is. Stop limiting yourself towards the context of where you were born.
Yeah.
Within light of the African context, and thinking that you're limited in that you're 2-3 years, or we are 2-3 years behind the world. No, we're not. We're 5 years ahead of the world. We are just putting ourselves back. And my advice would be bold. Be crazy. Yeah. Do things that you don't think anyone would approve of. And what do you have to lose?
Exactly.
At the end of the day, doing boring campaigns no one wants. Yeah. People hate advertising. Yes. Until you make it great, until you make it a movement, until you become Apple, until you become Nike, where the product is part of your identity. Yeah. That's when marketing is valuable. And nothing stops you from being a industry leader from the continent of Africa. And I believe that there's so much to be done if people just decide to do it.
Yeah, well, that's very powerful.
That is very powerful. And, someone was saying we need to be delusional enough as individuals to believe that you are the best among the rest. And that is how, even the people who've done great things were delusional enough to believe that, I can do it. And that's how come someone would talk about people who are, quote unquote, lack the talent, but are always in your face. So they were delusional enough to believe that I am the best. And I think that's a mindset a lot of us also just need to encompass, where you believe it for yourself and you take it outside.
And I think what goes with that is you have a story to tell.
Yes.
And I think that is the important part of it, because the greatness of marketing is the art of storytelling, right? And the storytelling is something that you need to put in place in any narrative. Effective communication has always got a story in place, and the story is to move someone from A to B. And I love the West African colonial word. I know it's not necessarily correct, but it's the griot, and it's the storyteller. And it's the ancient storyteller, and Trevor Noah actually plays it in Wakanda Forever as the griot within the movie and the voiceover. Very few people know it, and it's because it is about the art of the story that you need to bring to life. And I truly believe that you need to be a griot in Africa to tell the story.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. And even as we are coming to a close, I do have a question, and that is, what do you think the future holds for marketing and communication?
I think we are at a crossroads where traditional marketing communications, if you will, is being challenged by performance marketing. And that unfortunately the tech geeks is winning the game with regards to just the numbers and the making sure that technically and data-driven there's a success, which I'm not disagreeing with. What I have a problem with is that the art of communication is being lost in the storytelling. And I truly believe that the next phase is where performance marketing marries communications marketing. And an easy example from that is just the rise in online betting and betting companies like Hollywood Betsy in South Africa and all of the betting companies, because people they are going to go after what they want in life, and they can enjoy themselves getting that. They're going to engage with it. So the attention spans are getting even less. People are only going where they want to go. Smaller communities are becoming more and more the norm, and breaking through in that space can only be done if you co-create your brand. And the future is co-creating your brand with your consumers, because we live in a time when consumers are doing marketing better than what we are. So we need to go and learn from them, co-create with with people, a brand that breaks through and becomes a tangible benefit to people's lives, and not only a performance number on a KPI sheet.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I guess speaking to the aspect of user-generated content and why brands should really be keen on seeing when other people are using their brands, and be in tune with what's happening in reality, and say, we can create with this person because this person has already built a community of sorts and people follow her or him, and let's do that.
And I think what is important to that point, I've got a big bugbear about influencers, and I believe it's the channel of influence. It's not influencers, right? You have a platform and you influence people. It's very debatable how much people are influencing others, but to the point of a brand is successful in influencer marketing when they create such a powerful brand that they don't have to team up with influencers, because influencers are already creating content with their brands. Now, that's the power of a great brand, is when you are used the way you're supposed to be used without having to pay for it.
Oh, perfect. That's so good.
Yeah, there's so many other questions that we could ask, but due to time, we'll have to actually get to some of our closing questions.
Yes.
Nandus, thank you so much. We've learned a lot, and there's so many takeaways that we have from this conversation. Just a quick one for our listeners. Where can they find your online following?
So ironically, I don't keep a very big online following myself. You can find me on LinkedIn, Nandus du Plessis. You can connect with me there if you want to. I don't create content because I'm too lazy. I find it's very much of creating it, and it's to my detriment. I shouldn't say that out loud, but you can definitely find me on LinkedIn. I do like to observe a lot, and I do like to keep in touch with what's going on. But I do truly believe that making sure that you have something to say and being impactful every day is a hard game. And therefore I respect and leave it to others the most time. But you can definitely find me on LinkedIn.
Yeah, no, you have my respect for that. Is there any marketing book that you feel has greatly impacted your marketing career?
Screw It, Let's Do It. From Richard Branson.
That's a good one.
It defined my outlook on how to create brands, because I actually do believe that Richard Branson is the most powerful brand creator of all time. Because he doesn't own any of those businesses. He doesn't run them. He owns the brand, but he doesn't run the businesses, And I truly believe that the art of a strong brand marketer is someone that can create a brand that can run on its own without you having to be part of it.
Yeah, no, that's a very good one. I like the way he illustrates some of his beliefs and principles, actually.
And it's a short book. You don't have to read a lot.
Yeah. Who do you think would make an amazing guest for this show, and who would you like to listen to on the podcast?
There's a friend of mine. She's just about to move to the States, but her name is Silke Bakker. I don't know if you guys have heard of her, but she is one of the lead African Coca-Cola marketers. And she's heading out to Atlanta now to head up one of the subcategories, occasions. But she has run Castle Lights in the past, Carling Black Label. She's run Africa Coca-Cola for the last 3 years, I think, for the brand across the continent. And she just launched the From Africa campaign, the Yellow Coke can. I don't know if you've seen that. Awesome. That has gone all viral. So that's someone that is really... someone that I think you can really chat to, and she will be happy to share her knowledge of the African continent, and now moving to the States in Atlanta and taking Africa to them.
No, that would be great. So we would like if you plugged us through.
I'll be the plug in that sense.
Exactly. No, would appreciate.
A good friend.
Yeah, would appreciate that very much. So, firstly, a huge thank you. I know we've had a lot of on and offs to get to this point, and we've had an amazing conversation. It's been very insightful, and I'm very sure our listeners have had an amazing time. We can't wait for everyone to listen to it. And so thank you for taking time off your very busy schedule to have this conversation with us. We truly are very grateful for your time.
I'm very grateful for you guys having me. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And it was good to just share some thoughts of a crazy ginger with you.
we love them. We love the thoughts of a crazy ginger. So listeners, please don't forget to follow our pages, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Let's share the word. And thank you so much for taking the time to listen to us, to listen to the thoughts of a crazy ginger. Yeah. It's been great. And we hope we can always keep doing this for you and giving you amazing content. So with that, it's been an amazing episode for us, and we come to a close.
And by saying, don't forget
to keep your finger on the marketing pulse.
We hope that you have enjoyed today's episode just as much as we have.
Till next time, remember to keep your finger on the marketing pulse.